Hi friends, it's Miracle, and today I have a very exciting video because I finally got to do my first ever mid-year book freakout tag, like ever. In the past years, I always feel like I don't have enough books to talk about in the middle of the year. It's partly because I was always very slumpy during the middle of the year, and sometimes I'm not even making booktube videos, not to mention the mid-year freakout tag. And this year, initially I thought the same, that I didn't read enough in the first half of the year, until I actually sat down and looked at the questions, and I figured out I actually have a lot to say to these questions, so I'm very excited to share my answers with you. By the way, I always didn't understand where is the freakout part plays around in this book tag, because I feel like if you have enough answers to these questions and you have your thoughts to the books that you are reading, there's no reason to freak out. I was freaking out in the past years where I figure I don't have enough books that I've read that I have thoughts about, but this year I'm actually not that freaking out. So I'm gonna title this video Mid-Year Not So Freak Out Tag, and I hope that is okay with you guys. And also I found different version of this tag. I feel like this tag, because it's so popular every year, a lot of people are adjusting it to their personal needs. So I'm gonna just answer the question to a version that I see the most often. And without further ado, let's dive into the questions. And the first question is, how's your reading going in the first half of the year? And frankly, I am loving it. This year, I actually approach reading or like booktubing in a different way, which is closely related to my reading. And that is, I don't do monthly TBRs anymore. Instead, I did a lot of reading vlogs, as you guys can see. And that actually changes a lot of things. The thing is, I always know that I love planning. I like to approach every aspect of my life with a plan. So I actually get great satisfaction by doing monthly TBRs. But another thing about myself is I am suck at sticking to my plan. Like, I change my mind every 3 days. So essentially, monthly TBRs lost their meanings over the years because I never stick to them. And it also added some pressures to myself because I feel like I promised that I will read certain books, but I didn't read them, and I felt bad. Although there's no TBR police on BookTube, but I still feel very, very bad. And this year, I found out by stop making monthly TBR but doing reading vlogs, I'm actually gonna present like a small TBR in the beginning of each vlog. That is the TBR for like 2-3 days, which is the perfect days for me to stick to. Like anything longer than that, I am horrible at. But a reading vlog over the course of a working week or a weekend is just the right amount of time for me to plan. And also when it comes to the times where I'm not able to read, I don't have the pressure anymore, because there were 2 months in the first half of the year where I was just super busy, and also my apartment was falling apart. I was just not able to read, and I didn't have the pressure from my TBRs hanging over my head, and that actually got me come back to reading faster and easier. So overall, this year I've been enjoying my reading, although I still read like on and off, and I still have the period of time where it's like a classic me that I wasn't able to posting videos, but in general, I enjoy reading a lot more this year, and I'm so happy about it. And the following question is the best book you've read so far, and I feel like this is the hardest question for me to answer, because I feel like I read so many good books in the first half of the year, and also they're also very different. Like, how are we gonna compare a light-hearted contemporary novel to a non-fiction discussing societal issues to a hardcore classic? Like, I cannot do the comparison. So I don't have an answer to this question, but I'm gonna save this question to a future video that I'm gonna make. I have a couple of books that I really loved during the first half of the year that I really want to talk about, so you can expect that video coming up sooner rather than later. However, I do have the answer to the best sequel you've read this year so far, and it is The Story of the Lost Child by Elena Ferrante. And it is not because that this is the only sequel that I've read this year, although it is indeed the only sequel that I've read this year. But I truly loved it, and I think this is a masterpiece of Elena Ferrante, and I just love this book as long as the other 3 books in this series so much. And actually, I forgot that I read this book this year. I thought I finished the whole series last year, but apparently I finished this one in January, which fit right into the answer of this question. And we cannot talk about the fourth book in a series without talking about the rest of the books. So the whole Neapolitan series is a work of genius. The story started from a tangled friendship in the small town in Naples in Italy and introduced us to complicated characters and interesting communities over the books. And when it comes to the fourth and the final books in the series, the scope of the whole story expanded beyond the individual fate of the characters. What I love the most is that we can really tell the war's revolution and also the revolution of the society in Italy through the characters' individual lives. It is truly an epic tale, showing us the societal changes, the turbulent times, the evolution of the world with beautiful, beautiful writing. And then there are two questions with upcoming new releases that I'm gonna skip here because I've already read my most anticipated forgot to breathe. And then there are two questions about upcoming new releases, which I'm gonna skip here because I've already read my most anticipated new release of the year, which is Pageboy by Elliot Page. And I don't have information for upcoming releases, so let's move on to the question next to that. The next question is asking for the biggest disappointment, and this question has to go to Trespasses by Louise Kennedy. This is Louise Kennedy's debut novel, so I don't know her as a writer, so I'm not disappointed to her as a writer, but I am disappointed to a lot of the literary prizes that it was nominated for because I read it for the shortlist of Women's Prize for Fiction and I had to DNF it. And I have yet to meet a person that explained to me why this book is highly praised. If you didn't know, this is a historical fiction set during the Trouble in Ireland, and it's essentially a historical romance, which the romance is very, very creepy, and I just couldn't get on board with it, and I just essentially I got grossed out by that. I'm sorry for lack of a better word, but it is what it is. And on top of that, I feel like this story has great potential to portray the historical period at the time, but it just got wasted. So I have to DNF it, and this is my biggest disappointment of the year so far. And the next question is about the biggest surprise so far, and it has to go to The Marriage Portrait by Maggie O'Farrell. This book was a surprise to me because I didn't like the book that Maggie O'Farrell published before this book, Handmaid, and I thought I've only read one of her books that I didn't like, but in the end I discovered that I also read I Am, which is a memoir of hers, which I didn't really care about either. So I was happily surprised that I really loved The Marriage Portrait by her, which is a historical fiction set in the Italy in 1550s. And I really like the setting of the book and also the setting of the two timelines. I feel like the design is very playful and very smart. The gap between the two timelines is perfect to keep us on the edge, but also present a story where a young girl's dream just got crushed by the expectation of being a mother. So to sum up, I'm really happy that I gave Maggie O'Farrell this second chance or the third chance without realizing it, and I now understand why a lot of people love her writing. The following question is about the favorite new to you authors, and I have two. The first one is Melinda Lowe, who wrote The Last Night at the Telegraph Club, and the other one is Emily St. John Mandel, which I finally read Station 11 from. I feel like both of the authors are well loved by the reading community already, and I'm just so excited to jump on board to love and embrace their writing. And I think both of them have published new books recently, which I am really, really excited to get to. However, I do want to keep myself distance from their prior works a little bit because I just still couldn't stop thinking the two books that I mentioned. And the next question is, who's your newest fictional crush? I feel like this question might be very, very hard for me in previous years, but this year I know exactly the answer, and that is Kathleen from Last Night at the Telegraph Club. There's so many reasons to like and want to spend time with Kath. I feel like there's so many times in the book where Kath was looking at the protagonist Lily, and every time I got thrilled, and I just feel like a soft and a warm feeling in my heart. And Kath is smart, she has her dreams, and she's working hard to that, and also she's very supportive to the people around her. Coming from a different culture background than Lily, Kath is sensible and considerate, and I also like Kath is kind of shy. I feel like this is where she gets me. I feel like it's weird, but I do like shy people, and I feel like Kath is one of the fictional characters where I really want to meet in person in real life, and so bad that she's fictional. The next question is about the newest favorite character, and this character is very new, and they became my favorite character like yesterday, and they are from this book, Les Miserables. I'm sure I'm butchering the name. I'm sorry, I don't speak French at all, and every time like I speak to an English spoken person, they talk about this book title in French and I have the hardest time to remember. Anyhow, so here's the point of the video where you can pause it and let me know who's your guess of my favorite character. And I'm gonna do a countdown here to continue talking. And 3, 2, 1. It is Eponine. I was just so moved by her, but technically she's not the new to me characters because I had read this book when I was little in Chinese translation, so I already met her in this book. However, I am rereading it and I already forgot a lot of the details in my first read when I was little, so this time I was deeply moved by her story and I just crying and listening to her song from the musical like non-stop right now. I feel like Eponine is a direct contrast with one of the main characters, Marios, and she came from a underprivileged background and she has to navigate the world by herself, and despite her circumstances, she has this powerful love that is supporting her, and she is so brave and also clear-minded. And clear-minded is very important to me. This is one of the reasons why I love her, and the other reason is her extreme bravery. Although the book is overall a big tragic per the title, I do feel like her story was the saddest and the most poignant and the most moving and touching. And I've already talked about how Eponine's story made me cry so hard, and the next question is actually asking the book that made you cry, and it has to go to Les Mis. But I am also a person that made of a blob of tears. I cry so easily, so I for sure have cried for other books during the first half of the year, which I don't remember now. But yeah, this is the book that I cried to, which is yesterday. And the next question is the book that made you happy, and I have also 2 books here. The first book is Page Boy by Elliot Page. I have many reasons why this book makes me happy. First of all, I am a big fan of Elliot Page for almost 2 decades, which I've already repeated the sentences like I feel like on my channel for 10 times already, but I do love his acting. I do love him as a person, like his personality. So to read a book that is written by your favorite celebrities is quite a happy thing. And also I went to his book tour where I was able to see him talking in person, and that was a very delightful memory of me. And the most important reason being that in this book he was able to finally accept himself and talking about his journey and stories, and he finally came to a happy place in his life where I feel like I am happy because he's happy now. And the second book that makes me happy is Broken by Jenny Larson, and this is a book that is very humorous but is also discussing some of the most depressing topics such as mental health issues and a lot of awkward and embarrassing things in her life. Jenny Larson has this incredible ability to make you laugh in the most difficult situations, so I indeed laugh out loud a couple of times or like all the time when I was reading this book. But the topic of this book is also very thought-provoking. I loved that by sharing her struggles with mental health, Jenny Larson was able to let us know that although things are difficult, but we're never alone. The second to the last question is the most beautiful book that you've bought so far this year, and I really want to answer that. I really love the Last Night at the Telegraph Club because I indeed was reading this book because of its cover. However, because this book was praised by so many literary awards, and they have like all the stickers on the cover, which is like print on stickers, not like sticky stickers, so I couldn't even take them off. So I'm gonna shout out the book cover of 潮汐图 Title Charts by Lin Zhao. This is a historical fantasy where the protagonist is a giant frog. So if you look closely on the cover, you can see a frog skeleton on the cover, but also have the ocean, also have all the tropical vibes. And this book was set in the southern part of China in a historical time period, and you really get the feelings of this book on this cover. And I just feel like this is a stunning cover, which I love so much, and I also really loved reading this book. The last question in this mid-year freakout tag, in my case not so freaking out, is talking about your future reading plans for the second half of the year. And as a fashion of 2023, where I don't make any plans, I'm not gonna make any plans for this question either. So that concludes all my answers for this mid-year freakout, not so freaking out tag. Please let me know any of your thoughts according to my answers to the question, or what are some of your answers to these questions, and what book did you like in the first half of the year, and what books are you looking forward to in the next half. And don't forget to say hi in the comment section down below. Thumbs up to this video if you liked it, and I wish you happy reading. Stay healthy, stay safe. I'll see you in my next bookish video. Bye!